Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking a workplace struggle that is just deeply, deeply relatable. If you're a manager or stepping into any kind of leadership role, you absolutely know the feeling. You want your team to be happy, you want a super positive environment, and frankly, you just want to be liked. But have you ever noticed how utterly exhausting it is to be a people-pleasing manager? You know, you bend over backwards, you try your hardest not to ruffle any feathers, and yet somehow you still end up totally overwhelmed. Plus, your team isn't even hitting their goals. So we're going to look at exactly why nice leaders struggle daily, and more importantly, what to do instead.
Let me ask you something right out of the gate. Is your desire to be liked actually hurting your team? I know, it sounds totally backwards, right? Because we are all conditioned to believe that our natural instinct to keep the peace is this great strength. But the research we're diving into today reveals something pretty wild. That desperate need to always come across as the nice guy or the nice boss might actively be doing hidden damage. We're talking about blurred boundaries, undermined authority, and a culture that severely limits your team's actual potential.
There is this fantastic quote from leadership expert Tony Meredith. He says, "Stop aiming to be liked and start aiming to be respected." And that really hits the nail on the head. The crucial point here is that genuine respect doesn't just magically appear because you always have a smile on your face and you dodge conflict. No, it comes from clarity, it comes from consistency, and the sheer courage to address issues the minute they pop up. If you want to build a truly resilient team, respect is the currency you need to be trading in, not likability.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the nice leader trap, then the hidden costs of niceness, followed by nice versus kind. After that, we'll dive into the radical candor framework, look at servant leadership in action, and finally wrap up with actionable leadership shifts.
Okay, Section 1, the nice leader trap.
So, we really need to dismantle this societal myth that nice guys finish first in management. Because here is the brutal truth. Being nice builds confusion, not culture. Think about it. When leaders prioritize their own likability over giving clear, direct instructions, things just fall apart. They say yes to every single request to avoid any awkward tension. And the result? They get completely swamped with a mountain of work they can't possibly finish. And it actually gets worse. By letting poor performance slide just to keep things comfortable, you literally lose the respect of your absolute top performers. Why? Because they're the ones now forced to carry all that extra weight. At the end of the day, being too nice is usually more about protecting the leader's own feelings than actually helping the team succeed.
Moving right along to Section 2, the hidden costs of niceness.
So, what does this actually look like on the ground? Well, the How Leaders Lead framework outlines 7 glaring signs of a quote-unquote too soft culture. Check these out. You've got problems being constantly overlooked and feedback that is so vague it's practically useless. That leads straight into underperformance being ignored and standards getting incredibly squishy. Then you get this fake agreement in meetings where everyone just nods along to keep the peace. But then, the real conversations happen in the hallways, or, let's be real, the private Slack channels, and gossip goes into overdrive. Plus, because the leader refuses to make a tough call so they don't upset anyone, decisions take forever. When the truth goes unsaid in the name of being nice, your team absorbs all that extra work, and toxic resentment just starts simmering right beneath the surface.
Which brings us to Section 3, nice versus kind. We have to fundamentally redefine the terms we use to describe good leadership. And Shane Warren's insights give us this massive paradigm shift. Nice and kind are absolutely not the same thing. Look, being nice is all about avoiding discomfort. It's keeping things comfortable. It's a short-term band-aid. But being kind, true kindness requires staying present. It means actively embracing those hard, uncomfortable conversations and actually following through on them. There's a great saying for this: clear is kind. Being kind doesn't mean dodging the tough talk. It's about making that tough talk possible. And that is exactly how real psychological safety is built from the ground up.
Let's dive into Section 4, the radical candor framework.
Developed by Kim Scott, this is basically the ultimate alternative to the nice problem. When we map out workplace behavior, there are 2 really vital axes. On one axis, you have caring personally about people. On the other, challenging them directly. Now, ideal leadership, which is radical candor, happens right there when you do both. You care deeply about your team as human beings, for sure, but you also have the guts to challenge them directly when they fall short. If you just challenge someone without actually caring about them, well, that's obnoxious aggression. If you do neither, you're in the realm of manipulative insincerity. But the real danger zone, especially for our nice leaders out there, is that bottom left quadrant. That trap is called ruinous empathy. This is when you care personally,
but you completely fail to challenge directly. And honestly, this is the most common failure mode for people-pleasing managers. You just want to spare someone's short-term feelings, right? So you give this vague, sugar-coated feedback, or worse, you just stay entirely silent. It feels safe in the moment, sort of like, I don't know, putting off a trip to the dentist. But it is ruinous because it causes massive long-term decay. The employee never learns how to actually improve, the business suffers, and down the line, they might even lose their job, all because you weren't just honest with them up front.
Moving into Section 5, Servant Leadership in Action.
Now, Robert K. Greenleaf popularized this philosophy of servant leadership, and it often gets a bad rap. People hear servant and they think it means being a pushover, but actually, scratch that, it's the total opposite. It is a philosophy where you prioritize the growth, the autonomy, and the needs of your employees first. The ultimate test of a servant leader is asking, do those served grow as persons? And answering yes to that takes incredible courage. It means you have to prioritize your team members' long-term professional growth, which often means delivering really hard feedback, over your own selfish desire to just have a comfortable, conflict-free Tuesday.
Finally, Section 6, Actionable Leadership Shifts.
Let's get extremely practical here. How do you stop struggling daily and actually apply all this? Well, there are 3 crucial communication pivots. Step 1. Give immediate, honest feedback. Please do not save it up for an awkward yearly review. Deliver it in just 2 to 3 minutes right after a meeting. Stop softening the message, name the specific behaviors, and tell them the actual business impact. Step 2. You've got to learn to say no, but do it diplomatically. You literally cannot do it all, and having poor boundaries is a one-way ticket to burnout. And Step 3. Make the tough calls. It is great to invite input from your team, for sure, but aiming for 100% total agreement every time just creates gridlock. You've got to step up and own the final decision so your team can actually keep moving forward.
I really want to highlight this simple but super powerful reminder. You can be direct and still be fair. You can be firm and still care. I mean, that perfectly sums up the whole shebang of this explainer, doesn't it? Setting strong boundaries, enforcing high standards, and giving direct feedback. That does not make you a bad person. In fact, it completely humanizes your authority. It shows your team that you actually respect them enough to give them the truth. So, I'm going to leave you with one final, provocative question. When you look at your own leadership style today, what's it going to be? Will you choose to just keep the peace, or will you choose to build the trust? It's time to stop avoiding that one really hard conversation you've been dreading all week. Step right out of that nice trap, embrace clarity, and step into true leadership today. Because you absolutely have what it takes to guide your team to massive success. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I truly hope this empowers you to lead with both absolute courage and genuine care.